I'm calling the meeting of the North Whidbey Park and Recreation District regular meeting to order. It is Thursday, September 22nd, 2016. It is 6:32 p.m. All members are present, plus a new member that we have to swear in. Where did I just put that? So, Mr. Frosch, rise, please. Raise your right hand.
Are you listening to?
Yeah, it's like, that's what it is. Okay. I state your name,
I, Michael Frosch,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I am a citizen of the United States
that I am a citizen of the United States
and the state of Washington,
in the state of Washington,
that I am legally qualified to assume the office of North Whidbey Park and Recreation District Commissioner 2,
that I am legally
qualified
qualified
to assume the
to
office
assume the office of North Whidbey Parks and Recreation
District Commissioner 2,
District Commissioner 2,
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
and the laws of the United States and the state of Washington,
and the laws of the United States and the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of this office to the best of my ability.
discharge the duties of this office to the best of my ability.
Hooah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's when it's wrong, so I'll get you to sign it later. And so we do have to do another signature form because we have a different person. So if you would sign in your place, we'll get that turned in. Okay, next on the agenda, Wendy, it's your turn to be secretary.
Correct.
And we need to elect a vice chair. Commissioner Hoffmeyer.
I motion that we appoint Commissioner Shingleton as vice chair.
It's been moved that Commissioner, it's been moved and seconded that Commissioner Shingleton be the new vice chair.
Are you going to ask me if I accept?
Are you willing to serve?
I will.
Okay.
It's a correction or clarification
Yes.
through the end of 2016,
Oh.
correct?
Would you like to add that to your motion?
Through the end of 2016, yes.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Commissioner Shingleton will serve as the vice chair through the end of this calendar year. Any other discussion?
I think it follows in line with, who's been here the longest, et cetera, and some institutional knowledge, and it seems like it makes sense to me.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimously approved. Okay, any agenda changes? Commissioner Hoffmeyer?
No.
Commissioner Ford? Commissioner Frosch?
No.
Commissioner Singleton? Sorry. I can never remember your name. I look right at you. Who are you?
Appreciate that. Thank you for that vote of confidence. No, ma'am. I do not.
Sorry. Okay, no agenda changes. That's like a first for us. Public comments.
No.
We have, I saw the sheet. We have one public comment. Public comments are not a give and take. You're limited to 3 minutes. And Mr. Myslinski,
No, you got it right the first time. Stop there.
Mr. Myslinski, we await your public comments. Thank you.
Eric Slensky. Surprisingly, I'm actually not speaking on behalf of Clover Valley this time. I mentioned previously, several meetings ago, I honestly don't remember how long, just a concern about the inconsistencies with the schedule for the pool itself. There's been a few cases, but specifically the one I wanted to point out was the water aerobics. My wife was going there regularly with a couple of her friends, and they have no urge to go there anymore, just because it's very inconsistent. It's always, hey, we're going to play volleyball instead. My wife's unable to do that, so she's wasted her money. And there's been a couple of different things where it's been like that. So just as someone who pays to come to the pool, just wanted to voice a concern. The schedule has some inconsistencies that don't really work well with everyone. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more quick thing. She did bring it up to the instructors, the people who were running whatever time slot was in, and it was basically, sorry, that's the way it is. So she did try to go through the proper channels, but that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, board issues. Commissioner Hoffmeyer.
This might be better for final board comments, but I'll throw it in now. The last meeting, there was a misunderstanding about when the meeting was going to start, so we agreed to put off the start of the meeting until Commissioner Holly showed up. And it's correct, Singleton, I'm sorry. So it's just kind of how we work together a little bit. Sometimes there's a little bit of give and take, and I didn't feel it was right for Commissioner Frosch to be brought on with 2 votes. And I thought it was much cooler that you were brought on unanimously. So I really liked how that worked. So I just wanted to point that out to you. If you hadn't listened, we all picked you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You bet.
Commissioner Ford?
No.
Commissioner Frosch?
No.
Commissioner Shingleton? All right. There are no minutes for approval. Commissioner Hoffmeyer, you're still on the hook for the August 25th. I'm on the hook for September 7th. We will do better. Voucher review. Do I have a motion on vouchers?
Sure, Madam Chair. I move that we approve, district vouchers 7266 through 7297 in the amount of $23,299.08 and conduct payroll transfers from an M&O account to the payroll account in the amount of $48,025.82.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that district vouchers 7266 through 7297 in the amounts of $23,299.08 and payroll transfer from the M&O account to the payroll account of $48,025.82 be enacted. Discussion.
Where exactly is it?
Oh, that's this part. So what you're going to look at is this page and all of the expenses here. That's when we ask about expenses and things.
Madam Chair? If I may. So just questions about the late fees and the finance charges. Or one late fee on the Visa cards.
Okay, which cards is that on?
There are a couple with finance charges and then there's a late fee on Erica's of $25.
Yeah, that was because they returned a check because it was over the amount of what we owed them. And instead of taking it, they returned it. And so we sent them the right amount, and as a result, we incurred a late fee and a finance charge on the one for Erica.
Now,
Are you kidding me?
are they going to
Did you
return?
call up and complain?
Joanne did,
Is
To
that?
no avail?
to no avail.
I actually looked at this because I thought, and I recognize it's when we get the bill, when she can take it to county, we get the check from county and we get it in the mail. But I looked at, I have several credit cards that I use for different things. And so there's one credit card that I have that I only have a 15-day turnaround period. The others all are 20 to 22-day turnarounds. This is one of those 15-day turnarounds. We need a different bank.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we've resolved this as well because now Joanne found out that we can actually pay it right up here at the bank instead of having to send it off to county and go through the process. Because going through county is where
Yeah.
the delay comes.
Right.
So now we just pay it at the bank. So we should never,
We
I
shouldn't
say
have-
never. It should be almost rare that anything happens that we get a finance charge.
So are you just going to write a check to the bank and
That's
then,
what they'll do.
Petty cash.
and that's the part that goes and gets returned? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for fixing that.
I've
'cause-
never heard of a credit company not taking,
I've
just.
never had them do that to me before.
They just usually credit you for the next month. It's just incredible.
I'm wondering though, Commissioner, if it's because it's on a county,
Okay,
on a
probably.
county
Yeah,
check,
yeah, right.
letterhead
Okay.
on the check and all
That
that.
may be.
And it may have had the account number, and so you actually can't transpose it to a different
So-
account?
This all stems from, we talked last month about the check that went in, it was the wrong amount, county didn't catch it, and then it came back, and then when it went back in, we made a mistake on it, and it's,
So it shouldn't be a problem from now on.
yes, I don't know, we're gonna pay it at the bank now, so that should eliminate
Right.
almost all instances of that.
Going,
Not much, but it's
going, going
money.
back in the records a little ways, was it an issue before they became as big of a corporation?
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times whenever finance charges come on there, showed up on the bill, Joanne or her predecessors would call up and go, well, you know, whatever they would do, and then sometimes the bank would go, oh yeah, okay, good, and they would
Yes,
eliminate it, and then other times they would say, sorry, that's the way it is.
I'm glad on our end it's rectified. It just, boy, it really feels like, it just kind of feels like Heritage isn't being a very honest broker here. You know, not wanting to waive that like I would assume Woodbury Island was in the past.
Yeah, and who knows what the person who got it went,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly.
And everything goes to them the way it has always gone to them. It could have been a new person in the role that day. I don't know. I wish I knew. We will now go and pay it at the bank here in town. And that should hopefully, I'm not going to say 100%, but it should hopefully eliminate any future charges as long as we get it to the bank on time.
Thank you. The only other question I had, and I realize it might seem like nickeling and diming here, but I was just curious about, so on the aquatics director's, on her credit card statement, the business cards were 3 times as much as the ones that were offered to us, and so I just wasn't sure why that was.
Which one is it?
So, so Jessica, business cards, $59.90. And that's at least what we were offered to pay out of our own pockets was $19 and something. And I just, it seemed like they were apples and apples, and one apple was a lot bigger than the other apple.
Well, no, that was, I burned through 100 business cards already. So I got 500, which was $40, and then her 19, and her $20 for Jessica's new ones.
Okay, no, appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
So the 5 nights at the coach's hotel rooms were all billed on 7/8. So.
Back in July, yes.
Yeah, so they basically were just billed for different times at the same date, right? I mean, basically, we must have rented or reserved the rooms about the same time, 7/6.
Yes.
Okay, even though they were different dates that he went there. Okay, that's not all 5 nights. Okay, thank you.
I think those were the few weekends that he traveled to Federal Way, you know, a couple weekends in a row, and Joanne, instead of waiting each week to do it, just did it like that.
Okay, thank you.
Life jackets are for the kayaks, I assume?
Which one's that?
Life jackets under Jessica's.
Oh, no, life jackets are out here. They're for, our life jackets had all come apart. They're for patrons,
For the little pool?
for the little pool, and if they want to take them into this
Oh,
shallow end.
No, I didn't know they were allowed to have them.
Yeah, they can, but they can't go into the deep end with it. They go in the
Okay.
shallow end.
Okay.
good to know. And the ribbon awards, were those for our meet for the
That was
public?
ours, and
Good.
those that weren't used, because they're generic, are next year's.
Very good.
So we shouldn't have to, the expense next year should not be big on that.
Okay, anyone have any other questions on the vouchers and bills? Ms. Rush?
Nope.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve district voucher 7266 through 7297 in the amount of $23,299.08, and the payroll transfer from the M&O account to the payroll account of $48,025.82. Those who approve signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimously approved. Okay. Committee reports. Clover Valley Committee.
We haven't got together yet. It's coming up soon, right?
Yes, it'll be in the next 2 weeks. Just talked to Eric, and it'll be about planning 2017 will be the first meeting we have. And we'll do it at the end of the day as you asked.
Awesome. Perfect.
Okay. The Program Review Committee, we are going to talk about MWR pricing. So, Mr. Executive Director, if you want to...
Ask for a minute, right?
Okay.
Probably did those things in new business,
Well, it's part of the committee, so,
but, okay, last time we did it in new business.
yes, we did. But then we have since started doing committee reports, so I guess you're right, it could be, instead of a committee, it's not really a committee report, it's a, I don't know.
Well, the presentation, whatever,
Yeah.
but it just, it.
Sounded like a lot of pages.
This is for me, for each of the subjects tonight, since that's one of them. Okay. So the subcommittee met on it, and you guys should have a sheet that I handed out tonight. It's the public versus MWR pricing. It's sort of a guide for you to see where this goes and what we did. So back in January, we were able to renegotiate an old rate with MWR with the intent, again, to try to renegotiate again this September. But when I look back at what we were doing, we were trying to get them to pay a 10 punch pass rate for a visit, per visit when they were coming out here. And it turns out we can't do that. Across the board, we can't do that, because we would be charging them more than the public pays after 12 o'clock noon. So,
Right.
So we couldn't do that. And I know we've had some discussion in here. AM lap swim, if you just come in and pay a single visit as just a generic person, you can see in there, it's $5 to come in. So if someone who gets no discount, isn't military, isn't whatever, they pay $5 for a single visit. They can, however, purchase a 10 punch pass for $42.50, which comes to $425, which is the price you guys approved. So when you look at the general public pays $5, MWR pays $3.50. So everything else that MWR pays right now, and that starts at noon on, because there are no morning open swims, MWR covers completely the cost that the commission approved for admission last year. So the place where we don't have it right now is in the morning lap swim on theirs. So of note, for single, so for a person coming in to pay a single session, there is no in or out of district rate. It's all one fee, $5 to come in. So they could come from Seattle, they could come from right behind us over here on the street behind us. So, and there is no in district, out of district rate at all for open swim. It's all one rate, which is the way we did it, or the way it was done. It was done before I got here. So MWR, as a refresher, I think everyone knows this. They cover active duty members and their dependents, and they pay a portion of the retiree and their dependents to come in here. I think all but $1 is what the retiree pays, all but $1 of the bill. They come here. Under the way this is right now, about 75% roughly of the MWR patrons come in here we're being reimbursed at the full price for it. It's the 06 to 12 lap swim where we're not getting, or we're losing significantly actually on them coming in here. So as we looked at it, about 25, it's actually about 26% is what it really is, of the MWR funds that we submit to get reimbursed for, 75% of those visits, or those, I guess you could call them visits, we're getting paid in full. It's the morning lapse one that's not. So I know we had a good discussion last month on this, and so when the subcommittee met and talked about it, the recommendation is to go back to MWR for the contract that starts October 1st, because I have it, I just haven't signed it, and they'll have to change it. That we ask them to pay the 10 punch pass rate for it of $4.25. When I went out and met with the MWR, my counterpart, the director out there, Jeffrey Shaw, I don't know if anyone knows him or not, and then Carissa Sandstrom, who's like the base gym manager of sorts. She's more than that, but they were concerned about it, and I explained our reasoning for it. And so Jeffrey Shaw said that the potential downside to this is because they have to go in 9 to get this approved. So, yeah, and so what they might have to do is, depending on what it is, they might have to eliminate support in some way or completely to retirees to cover this. That's the downside. So I just did a quick little math here, and then I did this afternoon, so that you don't have this on your sheet because it's in my chicken scratch right now. Whenever you take 25% of the patrons of MWR in a month, on average, it's about 140 plus or minus. So I'm just going to use 140 just as a number to do this. So about 140 AM lap swimmers per month. And it doesn't matter if they're dependent or not, it's MWR reimbursed. And so if we increase this 75 cents a month, it's about $105 a month, or about $1,260 more a year. And that's good revenue. I take $1,260 anytime. I say this to show what we might gain out of it, but also when I go back and talk to them, I can say your bill's really only going up about $1,260 a month, or a year, rather. That's a year.
Yeah.
So it's a year that's going up $1,260. I understand now completely how they get their money. Yes, sir.
No, I'm just waiting for you to go.
Okay. They have appropriated, so they're sort of analogous to us. They have appropriated funds, which is what Congress approves. That's equivalent of our levy. And they have non-appropriated funds, which are the profits they make from admissions and programs and things they do. That's how they get their money, which is equivalent of our programs, admissions, and things like that. So to me, I agree with a rate hike to cover, because that's a huge delta we're losing there. I think it's right to go to the intermediate point between the two prices and not make it as drastic as we did it to them almost a year ago. And it's only $1,260 roughly. Even if you double that, that doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. But I don't know MWR's backstory. Yes, sir.
Well, you keep bringing up MWR and their reluctance to pay this. They don't have any reluctance to pay it to Anacortes. That's what they're paying to Anacortes.
Well, and you're right. I don't know their contract with Anacortes, because I asked to see that, and they haven't given it to me yet. So I've also asked the other question: what are the number of people living in and out of housing? I've not gotten that answer back yet. And but I would venture to say the patronage here far exceeds Anacortes' patronage from MWR perspective.
Well, that's because there's more here.
Well, exactly. So they probably. No.
You look all tan. You liking it over there? Good. Good. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's the potential downside that they've described to us. So it's just what the board, if you guys agree with the subcommittee on that we go back and say beginning October 1st. And it's only administrative for us. It's just, they have to sign in and you sign in when you come in here and you put a time on there. Then we just go from 5:50 when we open the door to let them in to 11:50. Because at 11:50 we start charging afternoon rates. Anything in there, we just hand them to them and say, this is the AM price. Whatever it is, we get approved. Yes, sir.
But I have a thought on it. I actually think that the 425 is a logical, stepping point. So we're looking at $1,250 a year though, probably, that this is gonna make us. In my personal opinion, if there was just a 0.1% chance that they were gonna take the nuclear option and this thing could blow up and look wrong in the paper, et cetera, I would really support holding this rate increase off past the levy myself.
How about if we get a motion on the table and then we can discuss it?
I make a motion that we charge MWR $425 per visit.
For the morning visits? Or do you want
All visits.
even the ones that cost $350 for everybody else?
Yeah, I'm saying all visits, because that's, I have a couple problems. First of all, I listened back.
Okay, sorry, can we,
Okay.
so it's been moved, I just wanted to be clear what
Yes.
your motion was.
For all visits.
So it's been moved that all visits be charged to MWR for $425. Do I have a second? There's no second, motion's killed, or it dies on the table. Do I have another motion on this topic?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Singleton.
I move that we accept the program subcommittee's recommendation regarding MWR pricing.
Do I have a second?
For the sake of discussion, yes.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we ask for an increase for the morning lap swim from $350 to $425 and leaving the other prices at $350 and $1.50 as they are.
Yes.
Okay, discussion.
I would support that if we put a date on it of January 1, 2018, myself. Just since we went to them so recently with an increase.
They couldn't do it last year because if they have to do it at the fiscal year. That's the reason we voted on this last year.
Yeah.
They are out of sync
Yeah.
with our thing. So we have to be in sync with what their budget allows.
It doesn't seem like it would get done before October 1.
Well,
I mean, I don't see no way it's.
Actually, it can,
Yeah.
because all they're waiting on me is to come back with what the board decides tonight as the
Yeah.
board's recommendation. And then they'll run it up their chain. It'll go quick because they know that the current contract expires September 30th.
that
So
was,
they'll do it to get it done.
So-
Whatever they do, they will have a contract.
So could we try it another way? If I were to vote in support of it, they say no way. What are you gonna do?
Well, then I have to come back to the commission. I have to come back to you guys and
So-
give you their answer.
So is there a way we could word it tonight to where if they say no way, it's over with?
I wouldn't go with that. They're gonna be reasonable. They are reasonable.
I hope
As
so.
Commissioner Fort said, they're already paying
It just-
whatever their normal amount is in
The talk
Anacortes.
of giving the retirees the boot just didn't sound reasonable.
They're not giving them the boot. They're not paying everything for the retirees
They
as
may
it is.
give
And
the
I'm
retirees the
a
boot.
retiree, and I don't mind paying
just-
the full freight.
I just hate
we
how
just
the
pay the
newspaper
10
would
punch
report it
card.
all.
That's
It's the
not
only
that
thing
much of a
scares
big
me.
deal.
Yeah, and I sat in these meetings last year, and people were very anxious to make sure that the military was not we're not anti-military, but
Correct.
some people want to make sure that we're not going to pay them $5. We're going to pay them the in-district, have them pay the in-district rate. That's fair, but it's not fair for them not to pay to use the pool.
Yes.
They take up as much space. So, and they don't have a pool out there because we have this one.
Yep, saves them a lot of money, I would assume.
It does.
It was interesting, even our last levy meeting, even the gal on there who happens to be military, she felt that the military should be paying more too. So that was interesting. Another thing is this PM rate. I brought this up before because I listened to when that was all that discussion last year. Anacortes has a PM rate for 1 hour from 12 to 1, not all afternoon. I don't know how we went from having Anacortes, and that was the reason we had an AM rate and a PM rate, because Anacortes had a PM rate, but Anacortes has a PM rate and the reason they had a PM rate was because it was only 1 hour, and they thought, well, other people can come in at other times, and if they come in the morning, they can stay longer than an hour. Well, at 12 to 1, apparently they only have a 12 to 1 lap swim, and that's that was the rationale for having a reduced rate for that time only, not all afternoon that we somehow elected to do. That point. And
Commissioner, may I respond to that one?
yes,
And you're absolutely right. There's a 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock lap swim during the calendar school year. That's pretty much every day, 6 to 12. In the summer, it shortens here and there based on swim lessons and stuff. That's a 6-hour block of time. In the afternoon, on average, it's like 12 to 2:30, and then there's another hour and a half later in the afternoon. So
that's
it's
a 2.5 hour block. That's not a limited amount of time. That's the whole rationale for Anacortes having the limited,
Right,
the reduced
okay.
rate, because it was a very limited amount of time.
Can we get back to the motion?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm gonna
But he was going to
interrupt.
his next point, and I interrupted him on this one.
Yeah, my next point was that, are we going to, I would assume that I pointed out that they're out of sync with us, and so somewhere down the road in January or whatever, are we gonna be reconsidering increasing the rates for the use of the pool?
That would come probably sometime next year.
Yeah.
To be prepared, and that's what we talked about in the subcommittee, at least I did with Commissioner Holly. We should do this so that we can go to them in time for them to
No,
do
not
their.
them, us, for non-military people. Are we going to?
It's
Are we
all
going
done at
to?
once.
Are we going to eventually? So we're going to try and sync up with them? Is that what we're going to try and do?
We would sync up so they can start on October 1st.
And we can
Or-
raise the non-military at October 1st too? Because I'm thinking we're going to raise the non-military rate sometime too. And the whole point is when they're out of sync like this, we raise one that's in January, and then we raise the other one in September. Yeah, it'd be nice to be synced up, but if we're going to raise the rates for the non-military in January, February, and March, that's the whole reason we're changing things now, not in January, because they're just out of sync. That's the reason we had to put it off in January, because you requested that.
That's a decision that the board can make. My recommendation, if we came to that, would be, we can say what we want to say and make advice, and we want to give it enough time. January is a good time for us to do it, and what it would end up happening is MWR would, the first quarter of their fiscal year, they'd pay the old rate, and then they would be in the contract at beginning 1 January,
So that's my justification for 425 now and not waiting until January. And because eventually we're going to raise it, and then we probably have to raise the rate again next September, but that,
Right.
because they're on a fiscal year that's different than our fiscal year.
correct. Yes.
Good point, but let's go back to the motion. Christopher Frost, do you have anything to add?
I am just trying to listen, but
You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I'm just trying to figure out that if everybody pays this price, or does MWR take up the whole bill for active duty coming in?
Yes.
For active duty, they reimburse us for the entire bill. For retirees, they pay $1 per visit. And then the retiree or dependent picks up $2.50 of that.
So active duty and family members are paid, MWR picks up for
So
everybody
they
that
don't
walks
pay
in.
The
anything.
families
Correct.
don't. We are reimbursed by MWR.
Okay, so do they pay at the beginning and then they get reimbursed, or
No.
they don't pay at all?
They sign a form, and at the end of the month, the form
Show
goes to
their ID
MWR.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, they have to show an ID.
We
card.
bill them and then we invoice them and then they send it back.
And then if they go to a price increase, that could possibly, for the retirees, that's probably going to kill their price reduction?
Could.
From what I've
Possibly.
read.
Potentially.
could.
That's why I did the quick math there, and I'm going, it's really $1,200 to $1,300 to me, that's kind of.
What's the
not
10 punch pass for retirees?
A 10-punch pass is a 10-punch pass.
How much is it for 10 punch?
$42.50 or.
Is there a senior 10 punch pass?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there
For
is.
senior and youth, yeah, it's $34.
So that's what I'm saying. So it would go up 90 cents apparently for retirees.
So,
But you would buy-
I mean, for retirees, I got you.
Yeah.
You have to be old enough to get a senior pass.
Okay. Well, I was just saying if, because retirees, we could think about giving them the senior pass because they're retirees, but put a retiree/senior price.
Well, I mean, I'm a retiree and she's a retiree and we don't qualify for senior according to the way we do it here,
Yeah.
so.
I'm just saying kind
I
of
think
like
Commissioner Ford
and I
says
put it
wouldn't-
together or something.
You would, if we opened it to the military retirees, we would then have to open it to all, anybody who's that age. So,
Yes.
no,
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you for the idea. Commissioner Singleton, anything else?
The only thing I wanted to add was something that you brought up actually, and so you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong here. Because I did waffle about this a little bit until Commissioner or Chairman Hawley made it very clear to me. But reminded me that when we went into the negotiation with them a year ago, that this is actually what we were going for. This is what we were asking for, and the answer that we got a year ago was, we can't do that right now. But that, at least my impression was that the expectation was that they knew that this was coming. So that it is not a big, I don't know if it's the same people, I don't know anything about that, but that it was on the table and we effectively gave a reprieve from that.
That was the implication I got from the director too.
Okay, and that's what I just
It
wanted
was
to share.
different people because I dealt with contracting officers. Now I've gone out and dealt with my counterpart, the director and the manager. Now, it'll be contracting officers that do it all, but their executives are the ones that'll now make the recommendation.
But we're also talking about the previous director.
In this seat?
Yes.
Okay.
That we had talked and she told me that she had told them it's coming, and anyway, and we were slow to pull that trigger.
And yes, that was told, so there was an email, I've seen the email. What they didn't know was what the price delta would be because it hadn't been decided yet by the commission.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
One other
yes.
question, and then a thought. So I know not all would fall into this, but if they did cut off the retirees, could it, given what you talked about in the last meeting about the silver sneakers, could it push enough of the retirees into the silver sneaker program and
Those that are on
adverse
Medicare,
implications?
those that are on Medicare would be able.
So I don't know. I have
I
no
would think
clue what
they'd
percentage
be
that
better
would
off
be.
in silver sneakers. If they're eligible for silver sneakers,
Yeah.
they're still, right now, it's more beneficial to do better silver sneakers than it is to, that's not gonna change. Silver
Yeah.
sneakers, they come in for free.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't pay $250, whereas with retirees now pay $250.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have to say on it. The only other thing I have to say on it is, and it seems like it probably doesn't make a difference, I support the math here, I do. I just don't support the timing. So that's where I'm at on it.
We knew this was coming since January. It wasn't good in January, now it's not good now. When is it going?
And this coming January or January of 2018, also not good. It's like they do it on a fiscal thing and we're trying to be fair to the whole population. So, all right. So it has been moved and seconded that we will increase the price for MWR for the AM lap swim from $3.50 to $4.25.
Actually, the motion was to
Oh.
accept the program subcommittee recommendation for MWR pricing.
Thank you. So it's moved and seconded that we will accept the program review subcommittee's recommendation for MWR pricing, which is number 3 on your list. If you, let's see, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Sorry.
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Abstain.
Oh, okay. So the vote is 3 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carries. Oh, do I need to have, if there's an abstention, do I have to have a,
I'd still roll call vote.
I'd still do
let's do a roll call vote. Commissioner Singleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Frosch,
Aye.
Commissioner Ford.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. All right. Levy committee. We didn't really have anything. I went to the levy training for the last couple of days. Oh my God, the people at the county that do levies, they have all my admiration. That stuff is so complicated.
That's awesome.
It is so complicated. I'm a smart person. I can do math. I don't know how they do it, quite frankly. So, but we have our work cut out for us, and I learned a lot of interesting stuff, and I'll be talking to the Joanne and the director about it, and we are pushing forward with the levy committee.
Awesome.
All right. Action item review, and I have to admit, I did not do really well with looking up what our action items were. There was one question we had from last time to the executive director. Are we charging a 3% fee for those who use a credit card for pass-throughs?
No.
So we are not.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
isn't there really a follow-on question there?
Okay. Well, you know, I was trying to think of how to ask that. So, are we going to do something about that, or are you just going to let it? Because it's costing us money for this pass-through. It's not supposed to cost us any money.
For pass-through?
Yeah,
The 3%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
people use credit cards to pay certain things, and
that would require a change in pricing structure that the commission would have to do, because if it's $100 and it's 3%, it's 103. But so if I charge 103, now I'm paying 3% on 103. So the only way around that is, here's the charge if you use a credit card. If you pay cash, we give you this price.
And
but that's not something that, as a staff, we can do. That has to be the commission to determine that. Determine that if that's what we want to do, and if what the price is for cash. Yes, sir.
So I just sold my boat, and I went down to a Department of Licensing with the guy I was selling it to, who happens to own rings and things. He was kind of surprised to see that they have a policy down there that they charge more for people who pay by credit card versus people who pay by cash or check. And that's the Department of Licensing, so that's a State Department. If they can do it, I guess we can do it.
We can. The pricing would have to be determined by the board, and we would obviously we would comply and enact it and enforce it. So, but I don't think as a staff we can determine. All right, well, if you pay cash, it's this, and it's $95 if you pay cash. Or
Madam Chair, just to clarify for everyone, the only items we were talking about, so were pass-through. So those were things like payments to USA Swimming and meat fees. So it was basically anything, and so there may be other things, but the specific question came up as it related to NWAC fees that we're told are a pass-through that don't cost the district anything. And then it was, well, but if they pay by card, how are we making up that fee that we get charged for it when we're accepting, for example, $50 and we're paying $50, but we've been charged 3% or whatever it is on that $50. So that's really the scope of what we're talking about. I guess I'm unclear on why, since we're losing money, that it would require the board to do it. I don't think we have any problem discussing it, but I'm unclear on why that is.
I can't set pricing for the things that you guys set
But
pricing.
we don't set pricing. I mean, we don't set pricing for USA Swimming or for meat fees. We don't even have, other than the P&L, we don't even have visibility to that.
Could you check, maybe we should check with the Department of License, see how they word theirs, because I would like to find out how they word it so that we can word ours the same way.
Okay.
And it was specifically the pass-through items, because we were told it wasn't going to cost us anything, and it's costing us 3% for people that use credit cards.
And then the charging for these credit cards, that's for the swim teams using their credit card?
No.
Everybody.
It's anybody that pays us with a credit card. We, as the merchant, if you will, have to pay 3%.
Or whatever, it's probably, I don't know.
So
is it
anybody
3%?
comes
Each
to
card's
the
different.
doors
Okay.
and they
Each
pay
card's
credit card, they pay 3%. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, each card's different, so it's not like, it's not 3%. American Express could be 4.25%. It's each card's different.
Yeah, that's good, so that's another reason we should see what the Department of Licensing, how they word it.
I'll check.
Yeah, that's weird.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I think the way that I would potentially foresee looking at it is as an administrative fee, just like when you buy a ticket online, or you put tickets online and somebody uplifts it, or something akin to that. that would be it's, you know, handling fee, whatever. And I would defer back to what Commissioner Ford said about how they do that. Department of Licensing.
I will investigate there.
So you
Thanks.
will report back to us on
Next month,
that.
yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
One of the other action items that I recall, and maybe we'll be covering it in the finance, so feel free to defer that, but was related to the NWAC travel fund. And it was, we had asked for clarification. Our understanding was that it should never be in a deficit position, and that we know that it currently is. So that was an open item.
And I think I had asked for how much money are you gonna get by the end of the year? So that we make sure that by the end of the year, and it is true, it was set up so that it was not ever supposed to be in a deficit. But it's kind of like in the first year, you know, I would say we're not gonna spend over what we take in.
I got it. So, yeah, this came up in the mid-year review, and in the mid-year review, you know, we pointed out that, let's see, we were at 30, let's see, no, we're currently at, we were at $2,078, and we'd taken in $1,731. And in the notes section there, it said, under the notes section, it said, we will not reimburse more than received in fees, quote unquote. Now I see in the current P&L, we're up to $31.84. So it has gone up and it continues to go up. I think we need to, I was gonna wait until we started the P&L, but I think we need to stop it right now.
I disagree with you. And I'll tell you why I disagree. Because this is a yearly thing. It's not, I will not exceed the income that comes in for the year for it, and those are the calculations we're doing. I can't, when this thing was enacted, I had zero in the fund. How could he have ever gone and done anything? He could not have done a thing.
It was set up, the exact wording of the motion back last year was, it will not, once it's empty and you can't do it. That was a motion and approved by the board.
And
that
in your
in that way.
mid-year discussion on this, you said, well, I think we're going to make 2,078. You said, I think we're going to make we should be able to make 2,078 by the end of the year.
Yes.
So, but we're already now at 3184. So you're not, are you going to make 3184 by the end of the year? I don't think so.
I believe, well, you don't know, Commissioner. I believe we will.
So believing, see, that's the whole point. So what happens if you don't?
Well, I don't look at it, what happens if I don't.
We made this decision that we weren't going to spend more than we take in. So this just allows you to circumvent that whole...
No, I'm not circumventing a thing, Commissioner. I am saying that for the year, I will not exceed what comes in. And that's what I'm doing. But when this thing was put into place, he couldn't have done anything for probably the first 3 months. All the meets that they go to, he couldn't have gone to them because there was no money in the fund. I wasn't here when this rule was made. I have a budget of $4,000 based on calculations that were made by the commission last year. So in my view, I had $4,000, assuming I made $4,000 in it, but not to exceed what I make.
That's why we need to have because that's not what was said. The said was, yeah, we expect to get $4,000, but if we start to run over, we're going to stop until we catch up.
I never said that.
You never said that because you're right, because it comes from the board. It came from the board.
And it came from the board before I was in this job.
You have some number of swimmers. Assume they stay in swimming and they pay what they're going to pay, because there are some families that don't pay $750 per swimmer, and see if that's going to make it up.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
You
yes.
should, okay, and by your current calculations, does that give you at the end of the year a zero balance? Because guess what? If that happens, he's not going to be able to travel at the beginning of next year either.
Yeah, I'll vote against completely. I would vote to eliminate that thing completely next year.
Well,
Because all I'm hearing is circumventing the whole intent of what was passed. I hope you're right. I hope we're right. We get $4,000 and we don't go over $4,000. I don't have, the way it's going up, I don't see that happening. How many more meets do we have that he has to go to? How much have we spent for September so far?
Their next meets aren't until next month.
Okay.
These are close, they are closer meets, they won't be staying overnight, so it's not gonna be like the summer meets that are staying overnight in Seattle.
Well, there's
But-
one in December, but potentially, it depends on the number of kids that qualify for championships in December.
And where's that located?
Federal Way. But right now, it's Bellingham and here in October. And then December is Federal Way, and then potentially an invite to a Canadian meet. But Coach knows that if we do not exceed what they, I don't know what the humor is, Commissioner, but
Because I think it's lip service. I don't think he knows. He knows that he can just keep running up the bill.
I think he does know, and I resent the implication that I'm lying.
I just
I am
think,
not doing lip service. I am not circumlocuting around anything. I am giving you what the truth is. He knows he does not go past what we project we're going to bring in on the dues for this year. He knows that. I've had that conversation with him on several occasions. So if you don't trust me, take action against me. But I resent the implication that I'm dishonest.
well, I hope it works out.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I realize I should probably just shut up and move on, but I understand what you're saying, but by the very same token, I have to say this, I resent the fact that we passed something with a very specific language. I didn't even vote for it, I don't believe it, quite frankly, but we passed something as a board, and the specific wording of its execution is not being respected. And so I do have a problem with that. We've brought it up several times. We asked actually at a previous board meeting this year, we asked that we look at the balance and that we follow it to ensure that it never exceeded, that the expenses never exceeded the income. And we were told, okay, well, we'll look at that, we'll see that on the P&L and the review. Okay, that's fine. But we were doing it for very specific reasons. And so I think that's where it's very frustrating. Because again, I believe I voted against it because I didn't feel it would be sufficient, but that was part of the caveat in it was you can't spend more than you have. And so I'm unsure of where to go with that frustration, but I am frustrated by that. And I feel like it's rightful.
And I think, we've talked about it, and I think I was kind of like, well, maybe we should just, it'll work out. And it's like, I'm concerned now at this point. It's like, I'm not sure that it will. I don't know that I had asked for the numbers, let's see the numbers through December that shows we're gonna have enough income to pay this. And you know that there's gonna be no money in the travel budget at the beginning of next year, but you're gonna wanna do something. He's gonna go, and it's like, no, that was not with the specific wording from the commission.
Well, I'll go back and look at the specific wording, because I don't know how you not let them go do something. There are plenty of budget line items that you can blow through in a year because you don't a maintenance budget can be blown through in a year because I've set this aside for maintenance and I've come there. I'm not trying to circumlocute again, Commissioner. I'm saying that you can't start the beginning of the year at zero when they have a lot of meets in January and February and say, well, until you get enough money to cover it, you can't go. It should be like everything else. How does it look at the end of the year? And that should be my responsibility to not be micromanaged by it. That's my opinion, and I know that you guys don't agree, or some subset of you don't agree, but
That specific meeting, we were talking about NWAC funding and the fact that NWAC doesn't pay for itself. That's how it came about.
Yeah.
NWAC still doesn't pay for itself.
How many youth activities have taxpayer-paying
anyway.
coaches?
Sorry.
would pay for their travel.
I have something too.
Okay, Commissioner Hoffmeyer, and then. we'll be
I
back.
wasn't on the board when it got passed either, so the policy isn't, it's not necessarily 100% clear to me, even though I sat in the room when it did get passed. Is there some way that the wording could be possibly improved a little bit and repassed by this board? Because I do feel like, I feel like the executive director does what we say, but it seems like whatever was passed by the last board maybe wasn't clear.
It is not set in stone. Anything can be revisited.
Yeah. I mean, I would support looking at it during the next meeting.
I will put the wording out to everybody. You can look at it, we can talk about it.
I
So,
just thought, and, you know, maybe there was some error in the fact that account wasn't started with a balance of $1,000 or something, so they could start to travel. You know, maybe there should have been a little.
ask your dad.
There was
I
a
know,
discussion of it at the time, if you
Yes,
want to listen to it on
it was
YouTube.
so long ago. I just vaguely
I know,
remember it.
it is
Yes,
on YouTube and it can be listened to, and I think that was back in.
but I think that, so the policy's been in place for
April,
No,
May.
8
yeah,
months.
Actually,
That wasn't, it was
October.
later in the year, and I have it on my
Because
computer, so.
it's been in place for 8
It's
months.
easy for me to
Is that
find
how long
it.
it's been?
What?
The policy's been 9 months. So over
Well, the
these.
policy, before I got here, so almost a year, if it was done in October of last year.
And I think it was to start January 1st,
Yeah.
because that's when we were starting the
Right.
increased fees for NWAC, and that was going to include, they were not going to go with the program review subcommittee's recommendations on here's what the NWAC fees need to be. It was, let's have these lesser fees, plus we'll have a $7.50 per person travel fee.
Yes.
And it was, a good compromise, but, all right. And Commissioner Singleton.
I was just gonna actually suggest that if, kind of in the vein of how we should be doing things, that instead of us taking the responsibility to, again, reword it, we worded it the first time, would be that you perhaps bring us a recommendation of how you would like us to change it. Either the wording or the policy, to make it something that is perhaps more easily executable. I would hope that might also achieve the objectives that you're aware of. But the other thing that I wanted to say based on some of this conversation, sorry, this is kind of historical, I'm just laying it out there, is I recall having an offline conversation, but with Commissioner Merrill about, gee, aren't you concerned that there won't be any money in the thing? I mean, someone who voted against it, but it was a board policy, and so I was trying to understand, how do we implement this? And his impression at the time was, no, that's not going to be a problem because of when the meats fall and this and that and whatever. And I don't know how his impression of how it was going to work and the reality of the execution of it happened. But to be quite frank, I mean, I was trying to look ahead to see this because I didn't love it, but it was what we voted on and it was what we passed as a board. And so it was kind of do we know that we don't have pitfalls here? We're evidently seeing, and I'm not trying to throw arrows at anyone, it's just we really tried to head this off. And so perhaps we need to look at restructuring or something. So
I think to bring something back that follows the intent of the board, but is something that you feel like you can follow on your end as well, hopefully.
I understand.
I'll get the exact words to you
Thank you.
soon. Okay, those were the only action items that I see that were not done in our paperwork we're going to talk about later. Does anyone else? And I, again, apologize. I
think there was a couple others that looks like they're still pending, but he had them in his staff report, the free pass. And
Oh, right, and that's why I
And
said
it's
they're
in
in
staff
future
report.
paper,
Yes.
so
Yep.
that's why I'm not bringing them up, so. Okay. Unfinished business, property surplus status.
Okay, so we talked about this last month in August. The decision's been made, we're gonna keep the trailer, and I think that's a good decision based on where we are right now. The staff has looked at it, and I've talked to Pete as well, the kayak guy. Our recommendation is that we surplus the kayaks and any vehicles and any other property that we come up with between now and our recommendation, which is to be part of the city's auction next spring, or whenever they're gonna have it. But my counterpart over at the city, Hank Neidham, said that they're looking at having it sometime in the spring. And that would give us time to, one, there might be other equipment we can get rid of, but it would likely reduce some of the cost. I don't know how much. I mean, there's the advertising part that has to be done anyway. But maybe it's, I have to figure out how we combine with theirs
Yeah.
and what it saves us. And then once I know that, I'll come back and present that. Because we have to go through the whole motion of surplusing everything and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
what percentage they're gonna charge us.
Right, right.
Does anyone have an issue with that at all? Okay. And is that all we had on
That's all for
Okay.
that topic, yes.
budget revision? Okay, so we went over the whole budget last meeting. So the only thing that we wanted to talk about this time was those changes that he had to make, and he needed to make some calculations on them. And I think those are the figures that are, if you look at this sheet, they're the ones that are in kind of a gray, correct?
Correct. They're
Okay.
shaded in gray and bold, the number is bolded. Those are the only things that are different or that we did not resolve at the September 7th special meeting.
So I looked over them. I didn't have any questions. Does anyone have any questions for the director?
There were a couple questions while everyone's looking that I can answer that came up that night.
Okay.
In here. The first, the two questions that were, that came up was, why was medical at more than half of the year for the year? I think that came from Commissioner Fort. And the reason is that we're billed a month in advance on that. And I'm not sure what happened last December, but it's the second thing that we did not receive a bill. We should have gotten January's bill in December. We didn't receive it until January. So it was there for that. And then the other question was, what is the cost of a single call to the employee advisory service? We still don't know. But we did call into them, and the invoice had one unit, $900, and we're waiting on a call back from them to find out what equals one unit. What is one unit? Is that one call, or is that one unit all the work they did with one person? So I don't have that. When I have that answer, I will bring it back. I just don't have that answer.
Oh, I did have a question. I forgot. I noticed that assistant aquatic director, you have an actual January to June, and then there's what it was originally, and then you have the revised January, December, and it goes up from January to June. But you still have, you mentioned that Jessica is being paid as the aquatics director. So why is there an increase when we don't have an assistant aquatics director?
Because that's what was actually executed as part, and I'll take ownership of it. When they did their turnover, it was done in that, and
So the 4,079 is actually what's been expended up to the point when Jessica took over as aquatic director?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's, all right, that was not good. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just have a process question. Did I miss somewhere? When I looked at this, I didn't actually know what I was looking for. Was there some place where it was explained that the gray and the bold? Because I honestly didn't know. I may have missed that somewhere.
No, we talked about it at the end of last
Yeah.
meeting. We
Okay.
said, all we're gonna talk about at this meeting is anything that was a change.
Well, yes, I'm aware of
Okay.
that. What I'm saying is when I looked at this document, I didn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah,
So,
I think
so
it was
a
on his,
key.
it was on his, I think it was on his, the
Was
one
it?
he gave us before, yeah.
Yes.
He explained it then, but he wasn't on this one.
Okay, okay. I was just process again. Thank you.
Okay.
my bad.
It's okay. It's not long. I was very confused.
And I know we don't have to go to county with this, but do we as a board have to approve
The board has to approve the
Okay.
amended budget, but that's where it stops, is you guys. Only the initial one that we approved at the beginning of the year goes to county.
Okay.
And I don't even know why it goes to county, other than it's probably an accounting thing for them, for the levy part. a measure, because there's, like, as we discovered.
It is
There's-
absolutely part of the levy
There's
process.
So yeah,
no.
it doesn't change the levy we get, does it?
Right, doesn't change the levy, and we're not, and we could blow through it 1,000,000%, and there's no penalty to us other than, you know, I look like a fool for blowing through it 1,000,000%, so.
There really is no penalty?
There's no, the only thing, as you recall, the only thing I have to be able to do whenever they do an audit, which we have one coming up in December, is be able to go, well, this is why we exceeded on this line item, this is why we,
What if we
Well,
actually
let-
spent more than we had in reserve and everything? If we do that,
well, I don't know how we
and
can
the county
spend
has
more
to
than.
pick up the bill, I would think they would not be happy
The
with that.
county won't pick up, the county only takes our money.
Let me tell you what I found out in levy training.
Okay.
That we fill out our budget and we say, this is how much money we want, and that's
Right.
the amount of money.
Right.
We can't get more than that.
Right.
But there's a certain,
1% per year, but,
or
Right.
whatever, you know, and there's all these weird things, but what if, there's all these things that feed
Yeah.
into it that, so you could get 1%, you could get more than 1%, but you have to know to ask for it, or you have to know, so if you don't have it in your budget, you don't get it, but you're not necessarily gonna get what you ask for if there's not enough money.
right, because we're a junior.
Oh God, we are the junior
Yeah, right.
people.
Yeah.
So, but it also has to do with if a lot of people are not paying their taxes, there's seniors that suddenly, oh, I'm a
Right,
senior, I
right.
don't have to pay,
Yeah, right.
or I don't want to pay those
Right.
taxes. So all those come out of the tax bill, so there may not be as much as we think, or there might be more because there's refunds and sudden windfalls for the county or
Right.
stuff that's available.
And what's interesting is,
Yeah, exactly.
I guess we do get, whenever there's new property bill, that gets added, but what doesn't get added is the assessed value. If the assessed values go up during this levy period, we don't get more, based on that assessed value.
It's based on the first year.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
yeah,
The base year.
Yeah.
But this time, we should get 20, it looks like we can get 20% more, even if we ask the same levy rate, because that's what they said, the assessed values went up. So anyway, I don't know.
Well, but we have to ask for a dollar amount.
Yeah, I know.
So, and that's, anyway.
But that's based on what we calculate as the 17 cents per blah, 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 and all that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
no, well, we don't consider,
Yeah.
they take our dollar amount and they throw it into this big, into how much levy money they expect to get after the seniors and after all the other deductions and stuff like that,
Right.
and the new assessed value, and they say, this is how much the county's gonna get, and you want this much of it, so your levy rate is going to be such and such. So they'll set our levy rate. We don't have anything to say about the levy rate.
We have to tell them a dollar amount.
Yeah, that's what we had to
And
do last
that's,
year.
yeah, and it's the same even when you're asking for your levy. Then they'll come back and say, oh, that levy amount then puts it at
Mhm.
17 cents or 15 cents or whatever.
So can we do it in reverse of that? Can we go to them and say, at 17 cents per thousand, what
What is-
number should we get?
I think we can. I
That'd be
love,
nice.
by the way, I love the county people. They're awesome. And they've been very helpful and they
Or
will,
at least give it-
I think they will help us and
Perfect.
so, anyway, but that's off the topic a little. So, does anyone have any other questions about the budget revision that we are looking at?
Kind of.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it would be, so something that we've already covered that I would just say maybe now is a time to just bring it up rather than when there's a motion or whatever, but so when I
What
look
page are
at
you on?
line number 21, the NWEX travel fund family fee as well as its corresponding expense, perhaps we need to validate. I mean, we're saying that these were numbers that we thought were good last year. Perhaps we need to take a second look at those before we approve the budget. I don't know. I mean, this is our opportunity to change that. And I'm not trying to be divisive, clearly, because it's out in the open. It's more of, do we need to make a change to some of these to be more realistic and keep with what we said we were going to do?
Mr. Director.
You can revise the budget as many times a year as you want. With that said, you can approve this, and then I will bring next month what we project to be the number. I don't put anything in there other than the fact that I won't reimburse more than what we receive in fees. The 4,000, if I don't reach 4,000, he doesn't get 4,000. That's always been what my plan with this. But you can approve this, and next month you can approve, and I know this because I've been looking through resolutions for the last 25, 26 years, where they have come in on a month and done a motion, actually they did a resolution, it doesn't have to be, but for one line item in a budget to change. So you can change this one line item in a budget anytime during the year if you want to. So however the board chooses to do it, I'm
Are
just
you
letting you know what your
satisfied?
options are.
With that?
Sure.
Sure, okay.
Yes, sir.
Just one, on line item 4, the general property taxes. So we took in $319,573 for the first 6 months from 574,709 that we're projected to get. That leaves us 255,136 for the next 6 months. So are you taking that into account when you're doing the budget? We're going to get less levy money for these last 6 months than we got for the first 6 months?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we obviously, we won't get more than 574,709, or whatever that number is, 709,405.
Right. And that's what I did. I just subtracted 319,
Yes.
573 from 574, and
Correct.
that's where I came up with the 255. So that's a significantly less money coming in for the next
Mm-hmm.
for the last 6 months compared to the first 6 months.
And that's the way it normally is. The April, or actually it's May really, but it's the end. It's the end of April.
Right.
We just don't get it till May, and the end of October are the two big dumps.
Right.
But April is always bigger than October.
Right. Okay. So you're aware of that. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But the end line, the budget is in the black, just under $1,000, right? Am I
That's-
reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there a motion to accept the budget as presented?
Or just a motion.
I
Talk
have a-
about
I have a
leaving.
motion.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Is that not allowed?
Is there a motion to tell me I'm awesome?
Yeah, I want that one.
Okay, see?
So, sorry, go ahead.
I motion that we approve the budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the budget as presented. Discussion. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimously approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Director. Mr. Executive Director. All right. Employee manual. Commissioner Shingleton and I both looked at it, and I haven't seen it from anybody else, but it's not really ready. And I think somehow we got a weird copy of it somehow, because it was worse than it used to be, I think. So it's going to take us a couple months, I think, to bring it into any kind of order. So we are going to take it off the table for now, and we will come back to everybody when it's actually
Well, just for
makes
my
sense.
education, I kind of read it a little bit. What is it you had problems with? Just out of curiosity?
Oh.
Just sort of general.
I didn't have it's like, wait a minute.
This is for the paid member, or the paid employees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's the page I haven't gotten
Maybe
to
I could
yet.
reread it.
It just had all kinds of, I didn't have problems with most of what it said. It was just that some of it didn't make sense. There were missing words, missing sentences. And so it's a matter of,
Oh, so it's more semantics than, or
So- and-
syntax, or what?
Yeah, I had content problems with it.
Content.
some of it is content problem, but a lot of it was, it's just, so,
Okay.
anyway.
All right.
Commissioner, there are places in there, there's one place, I won't say places.
Okay.
There's one place in there where the entire resolution from 1999 is in there verbatim. There's another one in there where it's in there verbatim except for the last paragraph, and it's in another chapter. I mean, so it's kind of a holy mess.
I guess I need to read that a little more closely. Thank you.
Well, it's not something that,
Yeah.
it's only in my discussion with,
Oh,
actually with
okay.
Commissioner Shingleton that I went.
All right.
And then I went, yeah, this is not ready for prime time yet.
Okay.
And if they took, because some of it is they just took resolutions, like you said, and stuck them in wholemeal, and if if those got changed, that's a resolution that was changed without the permission of the board. That's an issue.
Oh, so I might not have known that just by reading.
Well, actually, the board can do it, but you don't always, once you approve the employee manual, everything that's in there now supersedes or obsoletes a previous thing.
But we do need
Potentially.
we need to know, I think,
Right.
that this is a change. Here's what, some board
yeah.
back in,
Oh,
back in the
yeah,
80s.
We didn't have the old, we don't have
Yeah.
the old one to compare it to. So
Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure that if it's,
Yeah, we'll leave it.
if it's actually from a resolution, we'll have that in some color, and
leave
then
that for you.
changes to that, yeah. So it's just gonna take a little bit of time,
Yeah,
so.
they're, not only that, I've got to go back through the binders of all the resolutions and then manually obsolete or put something in there that says this is now obsoleted by
Okay. All right, yeah,
something else.
thank you.
It wasn't ready, I'm sorry, I thought it would be.
Okay, we're done with unfinished business. I would like to take a 5-minute break, and then we can clear our heads and start with new business.
At what time?
So it's 7:47, so we will return at 7:52. All right, I need to, uh-oh. Lord, where's the pause?
LIN.
Okay, call the meeting back into order. 1 minute earlier at 7:51 because everyone's back and present and ready to go. New business, policy on identifying public speakers in minutes. And that, we talked about it a little bit at the last meeting, so I thought, let's just talk about it and decide what we want to do as a board. And it was brought up in 2013, one of the boards passed a motion that we won't identify members of the public when they speak at public meetings. And then when I was secretary, I didn't know that. No one had told me, so I was identifying people and then putting a brief comment about what they said. I was chastised and told that's not the policy. I don't have a problem with just putting people's names in the public record saying public comments, people talked. But I also don't really have an issue with that.
I mean, it seems to me that's pretty standard in any public meeting you go to, that if you stand up and speak, say your name, and they write your name down.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be anonymous, and I don't think most people, I don't know that most people want to be anonymous, so I don't know why as far as I'm concerned, I think they should be identified just like we've been doing all along, and just like every other public meeting in the state and the US has done, they get identified.
Isn't that the whole point of writing down their name?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, for clarification purposes, it's not that people are anonymous. It's that what the board opted to do was in the written minutes, not put names or detailed information and refer people to, I'm just saying this is what, and refer people to the recording. That's what was
I think
true.
what happened, I remember listening a long time ago when what happened is it was the employees got it mixed in with the public, and they didn't want to identify the employees. And then suddenly they didn't want to identify, say, well, maybe we should identify the public. The employees is one thing.
There were particular cases where people were being identified and they were uncomfortable with that, and they raised it to the board. And they asked in the written minutes not to be identified. And meaning they said you shouldn't be doing that because that, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's no judgment here. But those people felt that they were being judged and that their comments were being portrayed in a certain light. And so it was, and so in lieu of having a different discussion about it, the board opted to leave them out and refer to the YouTube.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion on this instead of?
Do you want to make a suggestion or do you want to make a motion?
I just want to make a suggestion to
Okay.
see if how everybody thinks about this instead of, because this sounds like kind of concern for some people, but not everybody. And before they speak, just ask them if they are willing to have their name put in public record.
I don't want to go to that kind of,
What can we do legally? I mean, what's done legally at every other public meeting? If it's legal to do that, and that's what's done at every other state, federal, local, federal meeting, then why should we be any different?
And I would think if we're not even saying what they talked about, and I think that was what the issue was, that they were being, some people felt they were being mischaracterized what they said.
Well, that's different than being identified.
Exactly. So,
That has to do with the minutes and how they're worded and so on and so forth versus what's on YouTube. And yeah, so you're right. And I can see where sometimes apparently has been, what has been put in the minutes has not exactly been, because it's not verbatim.
I think it was that board's attempt at getting the situation in check, without making the director mad enough to quit, which ended up being the case anyway. So it doesn't sound relevant at this point. So to do away with that and pass another policy makes sense to me.
does anyone want to put a motion? Not one word of which I'm going to suggest.
Let's see.
We should have a motion before we talk about it, but it was like, okay.
I'll make a motion then.
Yes.
I should have wrote it down first, but I'll motion that public speakers be identified and merely just the topic. So if it was, and now here we go away from the motion, but if Eric had something to say, Eric, I can't say his last name. You did a good job at it. Comments on the dog park.
Try and
Exactly, right.
make it.
And if
So-
you want anything more, go to you.
The public speakers
And
be identified.
at City Hall.
No, remember, you're still,
okay.
what's
So-
your motion is,
So on that motion, but on the sign-in sheet, to have it be topic, name and topic.
public speakers be identified, public speakers and their topic.
And whatever they choose their topic to be, then there you go.
Okay,
So we
Second.
might need to do that again.
so it's been moved and seconded that public speakers and their topic be identified in the written minutes.
Yes, and that they themselves are choosing what that topic is on the sign-in sheet. So the sign-in sheet would be name and topic, or name and subject, or
And their topic
that way they're never taken out of context.
as identified.
And like I said, I know I should have wrote that down first, so housekeeping.
Okay, here's what I have written down. Public speakers and their topic as identified on the sign-in sheet be identified in the written minutes.
Yep,
Is that your motion?
I believe so, and that would leave a spot
Okay.
for topic on the
And is
sign-in
that,
sheet.
you seconded that?
I second that, yeah.
Okay, now we can discuss it.
Okay. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea as long as the comments are not put in there as people
Correct.
previously were complaining about. Just name and topic is
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that public speakers and their topic as identified on the sign-in sheet will be identified in the written minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay, Chairman's vote policy. This is something that came up in a couple of meetings, and just so you know, I think I should have a vote, and I think I'm disenfranchised by not having a vote until there's a tie.
Aye.
And because we only have 5, and I know on
I don't.
the bylaws committee, you guys were like saying that the chairman should vote, and it's
Yes,
like, I would
so.
love, and with only 5 people, it doesn't make sense. The reason it's done the way it is because in our bylaws, it does say we will follow Robert's rules, and in Robert's rules, the chairman. So that is something that we would have to do a separate resolution that said, we'll ignore.
And our insurance guy had advised us that Robert's rule is very tough to follow in a mess when he was here, so.
Oops.
So let's make a
So
motion.
those are the comments. So is there a motion on this topic?
I make a motion, the chairman vote on all, I guess, or her chairman's vote should be counted on all motions.
Okay, is there a second? No, it dies. Any other thoughts on this, or are we just going to go to the next topic?
Is there a way to table it? I don't have my mind wrapped around it all the way. It doesn't sound like other people do either.
Wow, you're the one that brought it up.
I agree.
I support it. I just think we should maybe check the wording and stuff a little bit.
Well, and I guess, sorry, first of all, I'm trying to take notes, and my observation is you leave yourself lots of time to take notes, but you don't leave me any. So nonetheless, but I would certainly like to do a little research and consider it. I mean, just because
Okay.
part of how some of this came up yet again also was I was looking back to 5-0 votes on things and 3-2 where the chairman was actually in the dissent, which wouldn't have made sense. So and so for me, it was I'd like to do a little background. I think we should discuss it, but I think we need to have more information than just saying let's just do this.
Okay.
Is that
I
fair?
support it, but I'll make sure we get the word in and everything
Okay,
right.
so the motion did not get seconded, so it dies, but we will talk about it then under unfinished business next month. Does that sound right? Okay.
Could somebody check with the school board or somebody and see what their policy is, what it looks like, or?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any problem? I've always it's always, when you say unanimous and yet you didn't vote.
I know. No, and I absolutely have no problem, because I have been thinking about
Should
this,
be.
and I thought that if the 4 of you all vote yes and I would vote yes, I'm not going to say anything, and it would go down as that would be my vote. If I disagree, I'll say so.
I mean,
But-
and maybe you don't even have to call the school district, maybe just look at how Congress does it.
Congress is like-
Votes sometimes, but something he cares about, he votes.
But there are 100 100
There's
senators
tons
and
of them.
200.
There's tons of them, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they
So
don't
even though
vote.
I think they follow some form of Robert's law, and he still votes when he
Oh,
feels,
yeah.
when he feels passionate about it, or wants to make a point, you know? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've noticed, they usually don't, but sometimes they do, and
Don't you get a vote anyways if it's a tie?
only if it's a tie.
Only if it's a tie.
That's right.
And
But
so,
if it's not a tie, let's say there's 3-1, and you vote anyways, isn't that still 3-2?
yes, except there was a vote. The vote for, what was that issue?
There's been a couple.
I know, but the one that you didn't want to do,
So for the abstaining
hours?
one?
core business hours, we only had, because Cecil wasn't here,
Okay.
and he was still on board, but he wasn't here.
So there was
And
4.
so it was a vote of 2-1. I would have voted against. It would not have passed.
But, and the other thing I have a problem with is again, I brought up this unanimous. It's not unanimous if the chairman doesn't vote. 'Cause
Yeah.
she may be at negative, you see what I'm saying? So,
But it was still
so we
passed,
shouldn't,
though.
so I don't think we should be
Yeah.
saying unanimous, we should just say pass
I think
4 to
it's fair for
nothing.
the chair to have their name on something good, bad, and different, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It's if I disagree on something, I absolutely think so. But we will continue, we'll look at it and bring it up next month. And I'll look and see how the school board does it. Because they're small, and maybe the hospital board, although they have a lot of people, don't they? How many people, like 10 people on the hospital board or something? It seems like,
7 or 10 or something.
anyway, so we'll look at that. All right, 2017 goals for executive director. I did not receive anything, and I don't know if you guys remembered, you were supposed to send them to me a couple weeks ago. So,
Wait a second, I didn't send you anything?
You
No.
did. Yeah, you
Okay.
did. You did.
he did?
You
Yes,
did.
I did.
Absolutely. And I realized I actually hadn't. Okay.
Oh.
You said it's received actually or something.
Yeah, I might. He
Sorry.
sent us everything. I'm just. I realized I hadn't sent mine. Not that we have to focus on mine, but I just wanted to be sure that.
I
I'm
apologize.
serious. No,
Anyway.
I'm just everyone's looking at it, I'm like, well, no, I'm just trying
Okay.
to share mine.
I am not prepared to talk about it because I thought the only ones I had were the ones you had put in your thing, I thought. And again, I'm sorry. So we're going to delay this to talk about next time. But did you have some written down? Did you send them? Okay.
I'll go with delay in it as well.
All right. So what I would like, you've already sent yours. You're fine. You're fine, Wendy. So Commissioner Frosch, what we were trying to do is you want measurable and achievable goals for the executive director for him to achieve, and that can be measured by next July, June, whatever the month is. So today is, or our next meeting is the 27th of October. So if you, Mr. Frosch and Mr. Hoffmeyer, would get them to me by the 14th, then we're good.
14 October.
Yes.
Actually, Madam Chair, if they could send them to all, that would certainly be more helpful. I appreciated
Okay.
seeing Commissioner Ford's, and my intention was to reply to all from his message so that it created a kind of a chain of them, but then I neglected to actually send it. User fail.
Because I don't know exactly what you want on this, so. Or what, I mean, what I should be asking for, so.
Okay, and I don't think anyone would fault you if you can't come up, if you don't know what you want, so, because you're new, so that's okay.
Has he had an email account established?
Now that he has been sworn in, we will establish one for him
Okay,
tomorrow.
great, thank you.
Then I will get a hold of him.
If-
We'll just transfer Cecil's over to him is all we're gonna do.
And if somebody could just notify us of, I mean, I assume it's first initial
It'll
last.
be Frosh at.
Okay.
And my thought on all these was, I was gonna kind of lump them in budget, I wasn't gonna change anybody's, I'll just put them, budget, organize them, and then we'll send them out, and I think the best way to do it is just to give an up, down, or let's talk about on each one of them, and that way we'll come up with hopefully a workable.
So I'm not quite sure how, if I just want to send him the information I've sent to all you already, without resending to everybody else, how will I do
When we establish
that?
the account, I will send an email to everyone saying the account has been established.
And then, well, that's what I'm saying, how do I take what I've already sent and just send it to him?
I'll just go to your sent folder and hit forward.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the goals for the executive director? All right, sorry about that again. All right, Mr. Executive Director, expanded holiday closure option.
Okay, so you should also have a sheet of paper in there that looks something like this, in what I handed out tonight. It's, so our budget's tight, I know you guys know that, and I'm very concerned about what this year is going to look like at the end of the year. And so I've sat with the staff and talked with the senior staff about this.
Wow.
And while we want to be open and provide the service that we do for the community, in a year like this, and I don't know, I'm not saying that I want this to become an every year thing, it should be looked at every year. We need to be responsible on how we're managing the budget as well. Normally, so what I'm talking about is an expanded holiday closure. Normally, what would happen is the day before Thanksgiving, we would shut down at 1:30, be closed on Thanksgiving Day. Then Christmas Eve, we would close at 1:30, be closed Christmas Day. And then New Year's Eve, we would be closed at 1:30, and of course, New Year's Day is the next year, but it would be a day off, a day the pool's closed as well. So what I did, and what you see in the spreadsheet there, is I went through there and I went, okay, on these days, what is the labor cost in there? I can't do anything because a lot of the operating costs go and go and go and go. They don't stop. The water,
Yep.
the boiler just goes. And shutting it down is an intentional thing, not a okay, I'm going to shut it down for the weekend because now it's got to bring it all back up. It's not there. But labor, which makes up over half of my cost a year, is something I can do more to control. So that's what you see in that spreadsheet there. So I went by day. So we looked at the cost for holiday season and contrasted with what revenue we did. And so as best as I could do revenue, and again, there's some things that I need to I need to have them redo because doing MWR is a manual process and I need it to be more automatic. And by manual, I mean I had to go out and get the 2013, 2014, and 2015 in here, MWR for those days, and look at what the attendance was and all that and see. So what I did, if you look down at the bottom there, you can see, well actually, let me come to what I'm saying, what I want to do. This year, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day all fall on Saturdays and Sundays. So to us, it makes sense to close those days. just all the way just shut down. We also looked at other ways to save, some additional days, and this is what we looked at, and this is what you see. The day after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas as well. So what I did was I added all the labor costs for the client service specialist up front, the lifeguards and or senior lifeguards. In one case, there are a couple senior lifeguards because it would be during the open swim period. Then I looked at the night crew that comes in and cleans, and then I looked at my hourly senior staff, which is Director of Client Services and Communications, Director of Finance, and the Director of Aquatics are all hourly right now. I'm pretty much, you're paying me and I'm here or I'm not here. So what I did was I took and I put all those costs in there, and you can see based on the number of working hours and the actual number of people, that this was what it would be. $3,588 is what that would come to as a total labor cost for those, I think 7 days. 7 days. That's what it would cost. Then I went back and tried to reconstruct as best I could. And even if I'm 50% wrong on revenue, if I'm 50% short, I'll tell you what that number would look like. So I went back and looked at 23, so now you're down in the little block down at the bottom left there. I went back those 3 years, reconstructed as best I could, and I took the high, I didn't take the average, I took the high day. Because I wanted to, who knows, I could exceed it this year, I wouldn't know. So then I went, all right, it costs me on these each of these days, this is what it costs me in labor, and this is the revenue I bring in. So you can see, when you add it up, $3,588 are my costs for each of those days. And my total revenue is only $746. And that means I'm losing about $2,800 plus on those 7 days combined. Even if I'm wrong, even if I'm only halfway, my revenue doubles, it's still down around $2,000, $2,100. Oh my God.
Need the bear stand hat.
There must be no one in the water.
That's not.
Need to get him a bear stand hat.
I think we're gonna have to. Even that would only drop at $750. I'd still be down around $2,000 in labor savings. And in my view and in the staff's view, in a year that we're really, really tight, like this year, I would be remiss not to come and talk to the board about the option of shutting those days down to save money. And there's a benefit to it. Those are days that the staff gets to spend with family. And to me, it doesn't matter. I don't want to say that my family doesn't matter, but last year was the first year on Christmas Eve that I worked in 18 years on Christmas Eve. I've always, since I left the Navy, I never worked on Christmas Eve. I always took it off because it's my favorite day of the year. But I think if we were to take those days that I highlight, that I put on here, the day before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, well, you don't see Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day in here because we're closed anyway. But so there's no cost, there's no revenue other than the operating cost that continues. But if you take those 5 days and turn them into this year for 2016 closure days, we can save anywhere from $2,000 to $2,800 in labor based on these calculations right there. And the staff is recommending to the board that we adopt those for this year. This is not, I'm not setting this as an in stone every year, it's to be looked at every year, but for 2016, that we close on 23, 25 of November, 24, 26, and 31 of December.
Okay, is there a motion on the expanded holiday closure
I
option?
have one more question for the director first, if that's okay.
Okay.
So, on days where the pool is closed for a holiday, as opposed to maintenance, this probably would never happen. Say somebody wanted to pay $3,000 to rent the entire building out for a day.
Oh, I'd open it for $3,000.
Exactly, I knew you would, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe, after we vote to approve of this, maybe there's some little thing that you can put together, and who knows, maybe it does happen someday.
If someone came to me even this year after if you guys approve this as I presented it, and someone came and said, look, on Christmas Eve, we'd like to rent the pool for X number of hours. Well, I could look at Christmas Eve and go, let's say it's gonna cost me $500 on Christmas Eve is my total cost. If they're gonna give me something in excess of $500, sure, I'd open for it.
Yeah.
I'd come back to the board and say,
Exactly. Yeah.
I have an option of opening on Christmas Eve.
And I'll
Yes,
buy
I would
you
do
a
that.
beer if that ever happens.
Right? But maybe we advertise that it's an option, or who knows, maybe somebody does it, yeah.
Okay, is there a motion on the expanded holiday closure option?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Singleton.
I move that we adopt the expanded holiday closure option as recommended by the executive director.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the expanded holiday closure option as recommended by the executive director. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, pool schedule review. We got an email from someone that was complaining about the pool schedule, and so I asked if we could look at the fall schedule, and it is identical virtually with last fall's schedule that we had approved, which is why the director felt he didn't need to bring it to our attention, because he said it's the same schedule, other than those areas that are highlighted in blue on your sheets were changed like a few 5 minutes or 10 minutes to facilitate emptying the pool, basically. So, Mr. Executive Director, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. I wanted to take the patrons' comments seriously and concerns seriously, but the only changes to the approved school year schedule that was approved in April by you guys were 5-minute changes in time, as stated, to reconfigure the pool. And that's really it.
What is seasonal rotation?
That is where we have, would have either adult swim lessons or Skagit Valley would be in there. They're not in here fall quarter, they will be in here winter quarter. So we rotate that between lap swim and open swim.
So I got a message for the 1 week that it was open, turned into lap swim. I haven't received any more messages. Is that still lap swim time?
It's lap swim until the next message comes.
Maybe you could send, it didn't say that. It said basically for this
Okay.
week.
Then we'll be more clear in what
Okay.
we send out.
Yeah.
So this is more or less the calendar that the public sees online?
Yes.
Is there a way that we could highlight in color
Maybe why there's
the
nobody
open
here
swim times?
Well,
Might be why there's nobody here now, because it's not clear.
the problem here, could be, yes, we'd have to go print, we'll have one done over at Office Max. Because I don't publish Word documents, this is done in Word. I will publish PDF, copy of a Word document, but I won't publish something that anyone can edit and then say, well, hey, because I know people.
I just
do it.
noticed sometimes it's easier to follow a color-coded calendar, especially if you got a
Sure.
7-year-old at home saying, Mom, take me swimming.
Yes,
Twin
so
thing.
we could create one, send it over to probably Office Max, have them do it and send us a PDF. We can't color, I can't,
Yeah.
whenever I scan
Okay.
something, it's black and white. So I would have to do that to get it done.
Yeah, for the week that I received that message and came here and swam Tuesday and Thursday, it was pretty busy. There's nobody here now, and I think part of the problem is because the message is not it was confused.
Well, I can correct that.
Can I make a suggestion on, instead of doing a PDF, make a password lock on a Word document, because that will protect a document. A PDF, if you have a program, PDF Professional, you can actually edit the PDF and change it too. So if you do it on Word and do a password protection on it that only lets certain people that have the password, I know this because I do this at work all the time, and I have PDF Professional, Adobe Professional is what it's called. So password would probably be better.
Wow, I thought my PDFs were safe. Thanks.
Yeah, no.
Well, no, they're not. Most people don't go to the trouble of getting Adobe Professional and go in and do something to it. And if I could scan in color, it wouldn't even matter, but I can't. But we can do that. I can do that.
That way we'd be color coded.
And then I know we've talked about it before. Is our schedule making it to Channel 10, the local channel?
Not this normal schedule, no. I mean, if there's a special thing coming and we choose to use them, I have not used them yet, mostly.
I just know these people over here use them all the time.
I know, and I need to go over and talk with, I don't know her name, it's written down there. I need to go over and talk to her. How do we effectively use that? So, yeah, and it just keeps falling in the background.
Commissioner Shingleton, did you have something?
I did. So two things about this. I suppose I can understand the process, but I would have preferred that it be done actively rather than passively. So in other words, hey, by the way, we're not making any changes, so I'm not going to bring it to the board. Is everybody cool with that? And here's why. A couple of things. One is, ever since I've been on this board, I have requested an expiration date on here. For a multitude of reasons, but one is, let's call it a ferry schedule. You know, it's similar to a ferry schedule, right? That it's good between this date and this date, and therefore I know that if I'm looking at this online, I understand it's going to change. That's one reason. The other thing, and perhaps I am misguided in this belief, but there are sometimes few opportunities for us to give opinions about the programming, and I guess I thought that by us reviewing this schedule, even if nothing changes, that's part of how we represent the people of this district, is the things that we've heard, and us sharing that information and approving of the schedule. I get that it's a day-to-day operational thing. There are other things that we do that are day-to-day operational, and so for that reason, I personally would prefer. It's just more of, hey, you know, I've heard this complaint, and we did receive some feedback on things. As I understand it, maybe some of them were misguided. But it gives us the opportunity. I was blindsided by the note that we received that said that I was ill-prepared to even understand it because I had no idea what it was being talked about because we hadn't approved a schedule. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Is I think we should continue with the process the way that it is, or has been for the past couple of years. I would prefer that.
In the meantime, do you think we should put a December 31st expiration on this particular schedule then?
I don't know if that's, I think typically we do it through February or something, is how it had been. That's how we did it. I'm pretty sure that's how we did it last year.
I thought we did it through the school year.
Do it.
It's a school year thing.
It's through the school year.
Okay, that's not, at one point that
I know
wasn't
that.
how we did it, but.
Last year we discussed it and we went
When's
through.
the school year end?
June.
June 16th is the last day, so the 18th would be, the 19th is whenever the summer schedule would resume.
The difference was, sorry, I recall this now. The difference why we modified it was because the high school.
You're right.
There was a different schedule.
You're right.
Because it frees up additional time.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why it was through, I believe it was through the end of February. So.
March 1st, I mean.
So would you find out when the high school's finished and they'll be taken off the schedule? And at that point, NWAC just takes their time, as I recall.
No, well, they end in February, assuming they get a boys team this year.
Actually, that's not true. They get, I think they make lap swim extends earlier or something.
Well, they do their morning from 5:15 to 6:15, so that all that does is frees up 3 lanes at 6 o'clock when they quit. So there's no change there, other than it now becomes just lap swim completely, or NWAC as well. But actually, they only overlap NWAC on one day, which is Monday. They don't NWAC is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. The high school is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So they only overlap one day.
Do you come back next month with the schedule that shows a closure date?
Okay.
And then, do you want to do the winter one as well, since we're?
I'm voicing my opinion.
Yeah,
that I would like to continue the process the way that it has been.
Yes.
But I'm one person of 5 people.
You remember. So for next month, if we could have the first part of the winter one and the second part of the winter one.
Well, I thought your proposal was to have an expiration date, and so.
That's part of it.
And the problem was that, well, the expiration date it seems to be, well, he says it ends at the school year, and then, well, that actually, the schedule does change when
The high schools.
high school stops swimming or something. So I guess what we need to decide, and we're gonna base it on what, the director needs to consider this. I guess, rather than going to the end of the school year, why couldn't we just have it expire when the high school leaves? And then we could just approve the second one. It's not gonna be any different, but at least we'll have an expiration date on those, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will look at that next month.
Okay?
All right, establish the 2017 budget presentation date.
Yeah, I'm going to make the note.
Oh, sorry.
So, it occurred to me that obviously, we're gonna have to do a budget for 2017, so, in talking with my staff, we'd like to propose 2 dates. This would be a special meeting, and we won't be ready before the next regular meeting in October. And there are a lot of things that I wanna do for this one here, so that it's more accurate than last year's. So the 2 dates that we would like to propose as the staff for this, since I will have perhaps all the senior staff in tow with me for this meeting, would be November 8th or November 10th. They're a Tuesday or a Thursday, the week after the election, the big general election.
How about the 8th, so we don't have the pain of watching the TV?
Is it going to be an evening, or do you want to do it during the day?
No, the evening's fine.
What do
Okay.
you mean watching TV? That's the voting night.
Is it an open public meeting?
No, it's a special, it's open, it's a
Yeah,
public meeting,
yeah.
but it's a special meeting.
It's a special meeting.
I
So this would be
wondered
the only topic
I
discussed.
wondered if a different week, either 1 week earlier or 1 week later, might be better for the public. Just,
We'll do it
there might be a
on,
lot of people that want to pay attention to
do
what's
it
on
on,
TV.
then in that case, do it on Thursday. Unless, does anybody have an issue with either of those dates that's been recommended?
Okay. Well, no one has.
Well, I mean, I prefer not to do the 8th. I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
not to.
I prefer Thursday.
Yeah.
We might be throwing
And-
stuff at each other depending on how it's going. I'm sure we don't all agree.
We won't throw stuff at each other. We'll be throwing it at the director. Do you know if you, do you know if you have a problem? You didn't bring your, so if,
If you
If
want to
it's the
start
evening.
early.
yeah, it's gonna be the evening.
I don't work evening, so if it's anytime after 4, I'm fine.
Okay, does everyone agree we'll set the 10th of November? Do you want to do 6:30 again?
Could we
Or-
start
I think
earlier?
we
Oh.
can start earlier.
Okay.
As early as the.
Anytime after 5:30 is pretty
Yeah,
okay
he
with
has
me.
trouble.
5:30? Okay.
You want to start at 5:30?
That's fine, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, make that work.
Okay, so November 10th, 5:30 PM, be here, aloha.
I'll do an invite for everyone on that one, so.
Okay,
And the reason for doing that in that time frame, which I didn't state, was we still, like we did with the mid-year revision, it still gives us to the 21st, the regular meeting, about a week and a half for me to,
We have
if
to-
there are things to do, and then we can revisit those things that need to be addressed, and then vote
Because
then.
then it has to be in by a certain time.
The 30th of November.
Okay.
okay, that concludes new business. Now we move to staff reports. That's this part, and usually what you try and do is, you'll get this stuff in advance, so read through it, and if you have any questions. And I would like to give a kudo to maintenance and all the personnel.
Actually, you have to sort of stop out front. There's a file, you'll have a file out there where that'll be put in,
Yeah.
so it won't be sent to you.
Well, it's both.
The e-copy will go to
Oh,
you
yeah.
with a note in there that the hard copy is waiting for
Yeah.
you.
Okay, yeah.
And what, just so,
You can print it yourself or go take a printed copy from the front.
Because otherwise, you're gonna be looking
Or is
sideways.
it something different?
Yeah. It
You're
starts.
gonna be looking sideways at the budget.
But kudos to the maintenance guys and all the people that did less than 50% of the labor hours that you allocated. Awesome. And they did an amazing job. It looks really nice. So please tell the maintenance guys, well done.
well, there's a lot of staff.
And the staff that was helping as
I had
well.
lifeguards and CSSs
And that they-
Fed well.
and no one complained about anything they were in. And
Yeah.
the people that had to go into the little drain things there and pull the oil sludge out, no one complained about it.
Mm.
No, it looks great. And as far as the whole director summit thing, cool. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah, that, I was pleased with that. It's the second one I've gone to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Jessica said that we have 3 individual schools scheduled. What schools? Because I thought we only had Oak Harbor Elementary.
So Oak Harbor Elementary, the Christian School, and Home Connections.
Oh, okay, good.
As well on her report, we asked this last month, 1,000 what? Sorry, I had asked for a unit of measure because last month, or not last month because I was here last month, the previous month, it was, yay, great job, this number is
Oh.
in the stratosphere. And it was like, well, do we know what that unit of measure is? And so I would go back.
Let me find, I
Okay.
remember that, and I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out what I missed, so.
How many swim lessons are there in a group? When you sign your kid up for swim lessons, how many lessons do they come from?
A swim school session is 8 lessons.
All right. So I wonder if 1,000 divided by 8 puts us at the number of kids in, or?
I don't know that.
No.
Yes.
My
That's-
assumption.
we don't know.
25. But
Seems like that might be closer, but I don't know.
It might be, and that's, I just would like a unit of measure.
Yeah.
I've 1,000
Yes,
turkeys,
I-
1,000 bowling balls, 1,000 hours. It would just be nice to have.
And we went from
Sleepless nights.
a really good graph from, it was 2 months ago, we had like an amazing number of increase in swim school, and this month it's like, oh my God, less than half. And it has everything I know to do with the change in price. I'm sure that's what it is, that people bought like a bazillion lessons at the old price,
They did.
and now they're, so it's, yeah. In ordinary this time of year, we'd have a lot. For this last month, we would have had a lot of people paying for those lessons. So it's, hopefully it'll average out at the end of the year.
And I'm skipping ahead, but I think it's awesome that the employees of the month are the custodial folks. Appreciate that, their recognition very much.
They do too, actually, now that they
Good.
know that they're it.
They didn't have to find this in the trash somewhere.
When they're taking it out.
No, that's great. I mean, they very much are unsung.
Yeah, you don't hear anything about them unless there's a complaint, and it's
Yeah.
usually cleanliness, and I don't hear cleanliness complaints, very rarely.
Did in the lights, it says there are about 12 ballasts that will require an electrician to rewire. Did we do that, or are we?
Yes,
Those are the overhead
they're all
lights.
out there.
Oh, okay.
Versus the pool lights.
Yeah,
And-
and you can see over in the waiting pool area, you can now tell if someone's drowning because you can see the water. I mean, yeah, but all the fluorescent lights work now. And they're fluorescent, we did not go to LED, because to go to LED, it will require all the ballast being rewired again for LED. So
Okay.
That doesn't mean we won't someday,
But for now, it's,
for now, we're good with that.
okay. Okay, anyone else? Comments on, all right. We now have employees of the month. And as we were just discussing, it's to 2 very deserving people, and their citation reads the same, so I'm gonna just read the one for both of them. And it's for Landon
Lachey.
Luche and Cody Wyatt. As a custodial crew member, Landon and Cody are responsible for the sanitary standards of the pool facility. They are in a role that goes largely unseen and underappreciated. Every night, Landon and Cody ensure that the locker rooms, the lobby, the viewing room, the pool deck bathroom and shower, the pool deck, and the sauna meet the cleanliness standards our patrons expect to see when the door opens in the morning. They respond to short-notice maintenance issues and keep the senior leadership apprised on issues affecting the safety, operations, and cleanliness of the facility. And they were key contributors to the successful accomplishments we achieved in our annual maintenance shutdown. In addition, Landon and Cody assist in the security of the facility and make timely recommendations to improve safety for our patrons. Landon and Cody consistently perform above expectations in a job that gets no real notice unless something is wrong. Thank you, Landon and Cody, for all your hard work. You are truly appreciated.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so we have no further public comments. Final board comments. Commissioner Hoffmeyer.
No.
Commissioner Ford.
Yes, I brought this up before. Looking at the P&L, for this, or actually that was a mid-year review, I guess I haven't seen this. The P&L, basically, have we received anything from Scuba? I noticed when I was on the last time I swam on the rotational thing that I knew was open, the swim team, the divers were in here about 8:30 or so in the pool.
Yeah, sometimes they come in early
And so if we haven't, so they must have been starting their classes. How come we haven't received any money yet?
well, I'm still trying to track that down, and I'm getting, Jessica has not given me the date of a meeting with the guy, because they need to have a contract with me, like everyone else. They help us through a lot of our open events, like the Haunted Swamp and all that there, but I have the same question. I believe they have paid something that may have come in after this was done. I don't know where they are on this.
Okay, and you were also going to look into, because they are for-profit, private company, profit-making company.
Yes.
So if they're making a profit, we should make a profit off of that.
Oh yeah, no, I will apply to them the same thing I do to everyone else.
Okay,
on
so
what I-
have you worked that budget out yet or not?
No, I need to talk to him
Okay.
and say, okay, what is it you really need? What are you doing? So that we have something in writing.
Okay.
Right now, we need to just come in and even, whatever agreement was made with them, no one knows where it is.
Okay, yeah.
So,
All right, thank you.
yes, sir.
So we'll leave that as an open action item for the executive director. Okay, do you have any final comments?
Nope.
Commissioner Singleton?
I do not, thank you.
I don't either. Our next meeting is Thursday, October 27th. Remember, it's later in the month at 6:30 p.m. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous approval. We are adjourned at 8:37 p.m.